Hello, Phoenix. It's great to be with you here today. Thank you for joining us as we flex our poder to better our communities, our country, and ourselves. My name is Elsa Collins, and along with Christy Halbiger, are two of the founders of Poderistas, who are here to welcome you for our Power Half Hour. The conversation is going to highlight and amplify key issues for our communities of color and the work of local Latinas and grassroots organizations. At Poderistas, it's our mission to help all Latinas own their power, including celebrating and in some ways reclaiming our cultura. We are dedicated to making voting, community organizing, and even running for office at every level accessible to all. We want our whole community to be able to show up in whatever way they can and bring all of their amigos, primos, tios with them. So thank you again to Fair Trade, an amazing place that empowers Latina entrepreneurs. Okay, let's get on to the discussion. I'm honored to introduce you to our fellow friend and poderista, Jessica Alba.
Hello, thank you, Elsa. Thank you all for joining us today as we head into the last month, literally 30 days until the big day. We're creating these spaces to inform, celebrate, and motivate our community in order to turn out our communities to vote. We have the great honor of being joined today by some of the most amazing organizers doing incredible work right here in Arizona. Okay. Abril, Gallardo, organizer at LUCHA. LUCHA is an organization fighting for social, racial, and economic transformation for our families and community. Viri, Hernandez, Executive Director of Poder in Action. Poder in Action is a grassroots org that is building power to disrupt and dismantle systems of oppression and determine a liberated future in Arizona through leadership development, civic advocacy, and community building. Thank you. And Vianey, Olivarria, you're the Executive Director of Chispa, Arizona. Welcome and thank you for being here. Yes. All right, so let's get this conversation started. We have all of our guests who have come in, and everyone's going to ask all of you guys questions that are related to this important election. So, Kerry?
So my first question is for Viri. So I did not know this. I learned this in preparing to talk to you because I like to be smart when I talk to you because you're so brilliant. So the Latinx population in Arizona, do you prefer Latinx or Latina? All of it, okay. So the Latinx population in Arizona is considerably younger than other demographics with a median age of 27. But only 30% of Latinx electorate plans to vote in this election, 37%. So we have less than a month before the polls close, and you work not just on voter turnout, but also like larger civic engagement, community building, because you know that the work happens between elections, not just at election time. So what are the three most important messages for young Latinx voters to hear that we can all help deliver in order to not just convince people to vote, but also to participate and become the next generation of leaders in our communities?
I'll take this. No, awesome. One, I'm like suing y'all. This is so sweet. Y'all are here and making sure that our communities are coming out. I think one thing I've been thinking about is polls are polls, right? I think they tell us where we're starting, but they don't tell us the future. So it's great to know that that's where it was, right, the 37%, but that's why these organizations have been so critical because that became our starting. We're like, okay, 37% and have been increasing that by talking to people, talking to young people. But young people and Gen Z have been showing up at rates that are historical that we had not seen from previous generations. Some numbers I was bringing in Arizona, we had a 12-point jump in 2020 of youth vote in Arizona. There was 39% of young people voted in 2016, and that grew to 51% in 2020. So that's the power of young people. And the youth of color in particularly nearly doubled. right? And so for me, that is the power of organizing and the power of talking to each other and the power of what we do and have been doing for over 14 years. Some people here, we've been out here for 14 years fighting for our families to stay safe. But also it's been a really hard year. And I think the fact that enthusiasm is low makes sense. Like, people are struggling. When we're at the doors for the first time, people are like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to pay for food. Food is so expensive. So we're hearing different things that we had not heard in many years. Cost of living. We have in Maricopa County one of the highest eviction rates. So it makes sense that enthusiasm is low because it's a hard time. And so for us, I think has been continuing to talk about the futures that we dream about, continuing to think about the world that we imagine. I just saw my little niece come in. She's 3 months old. So sweet there. And it's like the world I imagine for her, right? And the world that we imagine for our babies. And so I think young people have shown up. We'll continue to show up. We're the key to that, organizers and people who are talking to each other and telling each other not to give up hope, because we are the hope, and not just of the future, but of this moment.
Who has the second question? Oh, Glenn.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here and to be sitting here with all of you. So my question is for Abril. I would love to talk a little bit about reproductive rights here in Arizona. So according to the poll from Unidos US, the vast majority of Arizonans say no matter what their personal belief about abortion are, it's wrong to make abortion illegal and take that choice away from everyone else. And now that the Supreme Court has left abortion up to the states, okay. I just want to say one thing. It's a little bit of a thing, but I have mental illness in my family. And there was a time when, in the Reagan administration, he said, let's close all the federally funded mental health hospitals. Let's give it to the states and the communities. That's when homelessness started really badly. So I'm just saying, give it to the states doesn't mean it's going to be taken care of. Folks are starting to understand the importance of being educated on the legislation moving through our state houses, not just the federal level. So my question is, based on the work you're doing, how are you seeing these recent changes in abortion policies impact voters this year compared to other election years?
Thank you for the question and welcome everyone. I'm an organizer and I'm a storyteller, so of course I have a story to answer this question. We were actually at the doors the day that the 1800 reverse abortion ban came down in Arizona. And what we heard immediately at the doors, this was a top of mind of voters, and there were folks who weren't thinking about voting, but this really was a wake-up call for them. And so we saw folks doing that, and we also saw folks registering to vote. As you know, we have that on the ballot this year here in Arizona. And so that for us was really important because we knew specifically LUCHA is talking to 900 Latino voters in Arizona. And so we know that signaled us that they were paying attention. That 1 in 4 voters in Arizona are Latinos. And so this was, I believe 75% of Latino voters support reproductive justice. And for me, and for them, for the conversations we heard, this is about like the freedom for you to make the decisions for yourself and for your family without government controlling what you do. And then the second thing for me, I think, and for the Latinos, right, we have las matriarcas, the matriarchs of our family, which are abuelas, our tias, our moms, ourselves. And so when someone comes to, cuando alguien trata de atacarlas, or cuando alguien se trata de meter, when somebody's trying to mess with them, the whole family comes out, right? And so for us, this is, this is a thing, this is a multi-generational issue our tias, for our abuelas, for the ones that are here and the ones that are in Latin America. In many Latin America countries, this is already legal, and it's not a topic. It's a new topic for us in the U.S., but in other countries, it's not. Thank you. Thank you. Love you too.
Vianey. Another top issue on voters' minds this year is the climate. And with heat and wildfires and harming and threatening communities in the state, what is a way to communicate? How is it that climate change is an important issue for voters, especially younger voters? And how should we be communicating with our friends and family about climate change ahead of this election?
That's a great question. I mean, we're outside, it's October, 6, 5, and it's really hot. So I think the way to communicate and the way that people are feeling it is through these heat waves, right? Every year, we have broken record. And every year in Arizona, there's all this news that hit record-breaking heat-related deaths, record-breaking rising costs in utilities. So for people, when they talk about climate, it's really a kitchen table issue, right? It's nothing that is abstract. It's nothing that is not here already. People are feeling it in their utility bills. We have members of our community who are paying up to $700 a month to keep their electricity going. Right now in Arizona, if you don't have AC, it's a death sentence. It's deadly. People are outside working in deadly heat. Our canvassers are working right now in deadly heat. So there's many aspects that we can do to mitigate and adapt, right? But ultimately, when people are talking to their families, they need to realize that these elections mean something to their own economies and their own health through the local elections, right? The Corporation Commission is on the ballot. They regulate utilities. They're supposed to hold them accountable, and they do not. They pass increase after increase every summer for the last, every month, I should say, for the last 2 years. So there's power in people in making sure that they know who they're, how they're voting and who they're voting for, because that can translate very directly to how they're regulating and protecting ratepayers, residents, right? This is an issue that impacts everybody. For youth specifically, my heart goes out to them. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom around climate. I know they're worried about what the future they're gonna inherit, right? It is a responsibility of us, I believe, to make sure that we do everything possible for all youth, for your niece, for my nephews, to have a better world. And at the same time, I think it's very real that they're worried because they're seeing, this awful hurricane that just went through the Palladians, like this heat wave right now, all of this is not normal. And I think what they need to talk about with the families is this realization that this is not normal and we deserve better and we must demand better. And how we demand better is by organizing and coming out to vote. And organizing 24/7, not just for the elections.
So I just have one more question for everybody. We'll start with Abril. We know that the work that you're doing to defend our freedoms and uplift communities is exhausting work, and we're deeply grateful. But before we kind of all go our separate ways, we want to know what keeps you going? What keeps you hopeful and keeps you going? What do you need?
I think there is this not new, but there is a topic about like self-care, right? And I was just able to return to my home country in Mexico after 20-something years. Thank you. I just got back actually 2 days ago. But one of the lessons I learned about self-care and what keeps me going is, self-care has become this very individualistic thing. But what we know as organizers and what we know in community is that self-care needs to happen in community. And so what keeps me going is being at the campus launches. What keeps me going is meeting with our members and dreaming and planning our pachanga and dancing and sharing and breaking bread together, because it is in community that we heal. It is in community that we come up with the most amazing, transformational, wildest ideas to change, the present and the future. And my dog and my nieces. Yes. And my husband over there. Yes.
That's a good one. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm on brand, but honestly, as much as I can going outside, right, going in nature, it is on brand. My team keeps me going. They're right in front. They're funny. They make me laugh. But I think to Abril's point, it's always about community. I think every time I can be with friends, whether it's a one-on-one or we ended up somewhere at the end of the day and we're just like crying together and laughing together, I think that's in community is where you find strength, and it's in community where you dream up and when you feel emboldened, right? I don't think I would be in this work if I didn't know Viri, if I didn't know Abril, if I didn't know my team. I don't think I would be here seeing them go out and encouraging me to keep going because I see them going too.
Yes. Yeah, I think I'll just add to that is that the last a lot of us have been since 2010. SB 1070 passed. It was a Show Me Your Papers bill, and that meant that people that look like me, right, my family, and a lot of us here, were going to be questioned for our papers and can legally be questioned for our papers. That is still a law right now in Arizona. And I remember feeling so hopeless. I remember feeling so scared. I remember, I always feel like I'm done crying over that, and we're still a little, like it's always there, a little bit there. And I remember a bunch of people at the Capitol, and I was at my house and watching the TV, and I was like, what are they doing there? What are all these people doing there? And I remember finally one time, my little brother taught me how to drive because I was 19, but my mom wouldn't let me drive because I was undocumented. But my 15-year-old brother could drive, and he used to sneak out. Okay, my mom knows this now. So at night, we used to sneak out and push the van out. So he can teach me how to drive so that I could convince my mom that I could drive myself to school, to college, on my own, so that when I finally did, I rolled up to the Capitol. And a lot of these folks were there. And I remember sitting in a corner, and there was in the flagpole post in the Capitol. And I remember asking, who are you? What are y'all doing? And they told me about the DREAM Act. I didn't know about the DREAM. I really thought I was the only undocumented person in the state, y'all. And like now I'm like, it's funny. But at that time, it felt so lonely. And then since then, I was like, I want to go where y'all are at. And finding hope in each other, even in those moments that we have felt hopeless and that we have felt scared. I remember in 2014 when Arpaio raided my dad's job, and being able to call a community, right? Being able to call each other and figure out legal support and figure out my family had to move, because Arpaio used to go after, he would go to the job site. If he didn't find the people he was looking for, he would take their work files and then he would go to their homes. And once they were at their homes, they would just take anyone in the house, right? And that had happened to one of our friends, Eric Andiola, whose family got raided by Arpaio, and then whose mom's deportation, a lot of us gathered to stop. And literally the power of community, that her mom was on a bus to ICE, to Nogales, and they stopped the bus and turned it around and came back, right? And that's the power of Arizona movement. That's the power of our community. And now we're in a place where we don't get to just fight and cry together anymore. We get to dream together. We get to plan together. We get to strategize together about the world we want to build, and and have candidates from our members and our communities that are running, that are leading us, right? Raquel is here, Ana's here, people from our community and our movements that are like, we went from fighting to now like we're gonna go get what our families deserve. And my little niece right there, who's so cute, and like thinking about the world for her.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm so humbled and moved by the work that you guys do every single day. And there are so many things that are on the ballot this election, but day in and day out in Arizona that are so meaningful to the communities here. You guys are touching these communities every day. You are allowing these people who don't have your platforms to feel seen and to feel heard. And we are here to shine a light on you, to be seen and heard. You're not in this alone. We have your backs. You're part of our community. You guys deserve every dream and aspiration, and this country was built on a promise that has yet been fully realized, but you guys will help make it true. We can make this country what we truly want it to be. Everyone deserves to have their rights safeguarded. They should not have the government talk to them about their body or their choices. They should be able to afford good health care. They should be able to have a great education, not just an okay, but a great one. And they should have an opportunity to build the life that they aspire to build. And we are all here in community together, believing in that same dream. So thank you guys for your courage. It takes so much courage to stand up, especially when you feel like you're the only one, but you're not. We're all here with you. We're behind you. And thank you for just being here. And we are humble servants, just really lifting you guys up. So thank you for the work that you do.